I was born and raised in New Orleans, and I've been living here for 18 years, all my life.
What they don't see, what they don't pay attention to is the damage inside of you.
You know, my kids grew up here. And we were happy. We were overjoyed. But now, I don't know.
Mid-City is located in the center of New Orleans metropolitan area, about midway between the Mississippi River and Lake Pontchartrain. Homes were built along the city's main artery, Canal Street, from downtown New Orleans out to the cemeteries. Streetcars ran on Canal Street's neutral grounds until 1964, when buses replaced them. Shortly before Hurricane Katrina, the streetcar line resumed service along Canal Street.
People are grounded to this spot for some reason. It's a very magical spot as far as combining cultures and jazz and music and food that just, you can't just pick it up and move it.
I've been in New Orleans over 20 years. Well, I've seen this city capture people on vacation and never let them go except to go home and get their stuff. And they've had to move back, and they've been here for 20, 30 years since.
It wasn't the hurricane that hurt us. It was the federal government that destroyed us. The levee system destroyed us. Haphazard, cut the budget, save money so they can have their pet projects, and they let a city be destroyed. That's what killed New Orleans, right there.
A lot of people, especially a lot of the older people, I think have died since the hurricane because of the lack of response, the lack of the federal government helping, and I think that it's broken a lot of people's hearts. And, I think that that's probably the largest travesty, since the hurricane.
We have $100,000 worth of damage to our house, but that's moderate in these days.
The damage is not just necessarily physical. The damage reaches beyond that because it is not just things, it's people. That's what makes it difficult for me personally to see the struggle, not just us, but to see the struggle around us. Everybody trying to keep up with the situation, come out of it, at least back to normal. And that is a challenge.
5.5 to 6 feet of water for 11 days will just about kill anything. I came home to 7 different colors of mold, small frogs, and everything that was on the first floor was out the front door.
When the hurricane hit, we had maybe 3 feet of water, and the water didn't even get into our house. And the water went totally down. I was walking the streets looking at the damages, and everything was okay. The streets were dry. Then like 3 hours later, the water started coming up, and it just caught everybody off guard. I went across the street, and there's a 2-story house across the street, and I kicked in their door, and me, my mother, and my grandmother went up to the 2nd floor of the house across the street. And then my neighbor stayed also, and me and my neighbors, when I got my neighbors, we went upstairs across the street, and we stayed there for like 2 days and 3 nights. Then that morning, the people that stayed across the street, their neighbors, they had a little boat, and me and my other neighbor, we paddled and brought my family to the Levee, came back, got his family, brought his family to the Levee, and then that's why I was under the highway, and I was there for a day and a night, and then that morning we caught the bus and they brought us to Texas.
Shortly after the levees gave way in Lakeview and the lower Ninth Ward, floodwaters found their way into Mid-City. While limited sections of the neighborhood had relatively minor flooding, other parts, especially closer to the Broadmoor area, had anywhere from 4 to more than 6 feet of water.
My son was a detective in St. Bernard Parish, and he called me after the hurricane. He said, "Daddy," he said, "everything is fine." When I was talking to him, I was talking to him on the cell phone. And he was standing at the courthouse in St. Bernard, which is a raised building, I guess 15, 16 feet up. And he was on the ground floor. And we're talking. And I heard a boom, and he was gone. I got him about 3 hours later, and I said, "Son, what happened to you?" He said, "Daddy," he said, "I heard a boom." And he said, the next thing I knew, the water was on my behind at the top of the steps, 15 feet up. He said, that's how quick it came in.
Our house is about 4 feet off the ground. Our street got 7 feet of water, so we got about 3 feet of water inside the house. Our neighbors who stayed here said that after the hurricane, there was water on the street, but it started rising increasingly. When we first came back into town, which was like 3 weeks after the storm, there was still water all over our streets, and it stunk so bad. I've never smelled anything like this before.
Like a foot deep of water just in the street,
Yeah.
not in the house.
Not in the house.
And I think it had just been out of the house a very short time.
Yeah, maybe a couple
So
days.
wet.
Yeah. I mean, it was awful. The place looked wrecked, and there was sludge and all types of stuff in our house. But the smell was, I can't even describe what the smell was. It was
Chemical, mold,
like
sewage.
yeah, and also like if you ever smelled like a raw chicken and you like left out in the sun for days, and you come along it, that's what it kind of smelled like.
Mid-City has always been an eclectic neighborhood, small businesses mixed with single-family homes and rental units. Many of the residents of Mid-City were renters, and the destruction of so much housing stock contributes to the shortage of affordable housing in New Orleans.
The damage done by nature is not so much compared to the damage done by man. It's a huge error here. A lot of arrogance, I would say, on part of those in charge of making decisions, saying that we're safe. And what they do is they take the money or the power or whatever, the time and ideas and do the wrong things. And I think this is a cleaning process where hopefully those guys in charge of taking care of the city will do the right thing for once. Because it's embarrassing, it is sad that we had to suffer the way we suffer just because some people were not professional enough to take care of business the right way.
We kind of live in a frontier town. We get excited when our Walgreens is open till 9 p.m. We're excited when we find out the Save-A Center is open till midnight. There's still no Taco Bell in New Orleans, though. I'd like to lodge a complaint. I would really like a Taco Bell to open. We get out of town every now and then because you have to take a vacation and know there's a real world. And we just, every day we do a little bit more, the things we can control. We are absolute control freaks, but we also realize that you can eat dessert first. It's given us that. The small pleasures are what really count.
I feel as though that the media really does focus on the wrong thing most of the time. Well, not most of the time, but a good bit of the time. They feed on, the violence. That's what, oh, I gotta get the big story. But everybody isn't out there gang banging. And like when the hurricane went on, they were focusing on people looting and stuff. But at the same time, when they were videotaping these people looting, where were they? They should have been helping other people, get out the city while the water's rising. But then boats, and helicopters videotaping the wrong stuff.
Homeowners began gutting their damaged homes almost immediately, many living in FEMA trailers while making repairs. Some were residents of other parts of the city who lost their homes and moved into less damaged properties to rebuild their lives. So many obstacles make rebuilding a challenge. For example, there are limited services like electricity and water throughout the city, and an overwhelmed city permitting office struggles to keep up with requests. Moreover, a shortage of carpenters, laborers, and contractors have forced many people to rebuild their homes on their own, while attempting to work through the red tape and hold down full-time jobs.
I thought that this area and Lakeview was the tax base for the city. And my thinking behind that was that if one levee won't fail, it won't be the 17th Street Canal or the levees surrounding this area, because this is where the tax base for the city is. This is where we pay the most property taxes. So I felt comfortable coming here saying that this will never happen again, not in this area. But the way things are going now, I don't know. I unfortunately believed the politicians here that they were going to do everything possible to get us back and to get us whole. And quite the contrary. It's the same old story, rip the middle class off. Federal government has promised us and promised us to help us out, nothing. The state government has promised us to help us out, nothing. The city has promised to help us out, nothing. All we hear is rhetoric. And, we don't know. The Corps of Engineers, that's the federal government. And we can spend billions of dollars in Iraq rebuilding cities for them to blow up, but you have the most beautiful city in the world that they can't do nothing for. It's amazing. They want to fight over what you're going to get, who's going to get it. By the time we get it, it'll be all over. I'm 60 years old.
Even now, sitting in this total mess of a house, I feel at peace and I feel at home, and I feel like I'm camping out wherever else I'm staying. Even though, it's going to be a while before we can come home. We feel peaceful here.
I can never forget the first day I was here in New Orleans, the very first day. I was so surprised compared to other states. I lived in Los Angeles, New York, and many other places. But the first day I was here, I was walking on the French Quarter, and people waved at me and say hello. That caught my attention. That completely, I said, boy, I forgot for a moment that I was in the United States. That'll give you an idea how I feel about New Orleans. I forgot that I was in the United States. I completely forgot. And that's what it is. Friendly city, friendly people. We have a lot of problems, a lot of crime, a lot of educational problems, poverty, whatever. But the most important thing about New Orleans is friendly. It's about family, and the values about family here are pretty strong.
Well, I am going to repair and rebuild, and I did have flood insurance, and I did have homeowners insurance, and I don't plan to sink as much money into it this time as they had in previous years. So I'm going to make it a bare bones down at the bottom, but enough to make it livable and fun to live in.
I started school back up in August. Most likely, I was at Delgado during the summer taking summer club courses at the community college, and most likely end up at UNO, University of New Orleans, and work and try to stack my money while I'm young, because I'm not gonna be doing construction for a minute. It's just my little summer hustle, staying out of trouble.
I love New Orleans. That's all I can say. I love the people. I love the surroundings.
I think to leave here and not try to be here and help rebuild is too much going along with what we already have, which is a throwaway society. And I think we need to change that. I think that, and what better way to change that than to come back and to a place that has done so much for you.
One thing about New Orleans, once you taste it, you belong to New Orleans. That's it. There's no other way around it. It's just the way it is.
When I went to Texas, it was okay, but it felt like a vacation, and I couldn't wait to get back to my home, to my city. And but I can't just single things out. I love everything about it. I love everything about the city.
I love this town. The people, the atmosphere, is really what makes the town special. The fact that we're the second oldest town in the United States, that helps a little bit too. But I couldn't leave her. She needs me now more than ever, and she needs the people who love her to come home.
I love it.
I love it. That's all she's got to say.
As our drive leaves Mid-City, we must wait and see what happens to one of America's oldest and most culturally, socially, and architecturally diverse cities. The magnitude of devastation caused in New Orleans by the failed levees ranks at the top of the list of major catastrophic events experienced in America. Over 1,000 people lost their lives to the flood. Thousands upon thousands of others were displaced and must endure the challenges of rebuilding their lives, homes, and communities. The people of New Orleans will never forget the outpouring of support from people and organizations across the world. They will also never forget the pledge by President George W. Bush in September of 2005 to do whatever it takes to rebuild New Orleans.
That makes it difficult for me personally to see the struggle, not just us, but to see the struggle around us. Everybody trying to keep up with the situation, come out of it, at least back to normal. And that is a challenge.
Well, I've seen this city capture people on vacation and never let them go except to go home and get their stuff. And they've had to move back, and they've been here for 20, 30 years since.
We can spend billions of dollars in Iraq rebuilding cities for them to blow up, but you have the most beautiful city in the world that they can't do nothing for.
first came back into town, which was like 3 weeks after the storm, there was still water all over our streets, and it stunk so bad. I've never smelled anything like this before.
Like a foot deep of water just in the street,
Yeah.
not in the house.
Not in the house.
And I think it had just been out of the house in a very short time.
Yeah, maybe a couple
So
days.
wet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was awful. The place looked wrecked, and there was sludge and all types of stuff in our house.
Start school back up in August. Most likely, I was at Delgado during the summer taking summer club courses at the community college, and most likely end up at UNO, University of New Orleans.